Hey, welcome to the Good Girls podcast. And today we're talking about love languages. Usual disclaimer, if you are driving with your father-in-law, you might want to turn it off because even though it's love languages and that sounds soft, we might accidentally say some things that you're uncomfortable hearing.
Some people's love language is a deep dicking.
And if you have a daddy kink and you're driving with your father-in-law to fulfill your daddy kink, then you know what? Continue listening. Maybe you'll learn
Wait, I'm
something.
sorry, good girls. Can I just take a quick deviation here that if you are wondering why Kay always begins the podcast by warning you about your father-in-law being in the car, not that she has a kink for her actual father-in-law, but she does have
No
a
real life daddy kink.
figurative father-in-law kink because this is the kind of relationship we have. She sent me one of her favorite pornos, and it is a daddy-in-law kind of situation where she
If
cheats
you've
on her
ever
husband with the father-in-law.
seen Stephen St. Croix, male porn star, and his little boomerang peeny, then you understand that it's not really a father-in-law thing. It's
It's
something
more of a
about
Steven Saint. Yeah, he's just
the
more
way
of a
that he
zaddy.
runs he runs the room. He's got little man boobies. He's great.
Okay, you hyped up the man boobies. I was picturing somebody with a way more doughy physique. I mean, his is a highly curved penis, but other than
He's
that, I would say
highly
he was
curved.
very attractive for his age.
He's got the nice gruff, I'm in charge here, and
yeah.
I'm going to show you what you're worth.
Anyway, so that if that has not scared off everybody who was listening to this with you, let's jump in and talk about love languages.
Woohoo! So, I want to start off before we get heavily into love languages with this amazing study by Heyman and colleagues published in 2010, Journal of Family Psychology, looked at 453 couples with a child aged 3 to 7 and surveyed them on the areas of desired change in their partners. And they found women compared with men wanted greater increases in their partner's emotional and compassionate behaviors,
No surprise.
instrumental support, so support around the household, and parenting involvement. And men wanted, shocking finding,
More sex.
more sex. They wanted more attention to their sexual needs. They wanted more sexual relationships. Men, I just have a little cheat code here. Maybe if you helped the woman with those other things, then they would want more sex with you.
Yeah. So our favorite place to do research besides scholarly articles is Reddit. And so I was skimming through kind of people who had previously posted the question of what is your love language? And just the number of men who answered it blowjobs. Yeah. And yeah. You're wondering why your wife doesn't give you more blowjobs, men. Here is a reason why.
So, SJ, lead us into what are the 5 love languages?
All right. Well, actually, I would like to start with a little bit of background about the book. This is an interesting one because I think that this has become such a pop culture phenomenon. And the number of people who talk about love languages, especially just like how much it's become a meme now, right? Like people are like, my love language is bagels, my love language is cat pictures, versus the number of people who have read this book. In this case, I would actually say that that's probably a good thing. The book is utter trash. And I don't know, Kay, what is your experience with the love languages beyond internet memes?
So I don't want to put off this episode because I still think it's very, very worthwhile discussing and it provides a nice framework to think about things. But I think that the science of the love languages and the idea that you only have one love language and that you need to make sure your partner matches up with you is trash. And that's partially because Gary Chapman,
trash.
He is a PhD of adult education. So he doesn't even
from
have...
like a seminary. And this is somebody with a seminary degree. Like that does not make me qualified to be a couples counselor.
I think that the love languages are still highly useful to explore because they kind of provide a framework for talking about things that you're feeling are lacking with your partner and all these different. So I want to say that they're trash, but I also want to say that I'm excited to talk about them.
You and I feel exactly the same way, so we can eliminate the debate portion of our agenda for today. I feel very much the same way. I think that it sparks a helpful conversation. We've even had this conversation in my own marriage. I don't think that we have to be limited to Gary Chapman's five languages, which we will get into, are very arbitrary and also somewhat overlapping. And also, yeah, if your knowledge of it came from the book and not just random one line internet posts, first of all, you wasted a lot of time because you can learn basically all the concepts you need to. And I would say like half a podcast. So we'll spend less than half of the podcast today talking about what they're actually about, and then spend the rest of the podcast either trashing the book or talking about how we apply this in our own lives. The basic takeaway is to just communicate and pay attention to the way that other people receive love. And I think that that's one helpful takeaway from the book, is that the book is really about paying attention to what your partner's love language is, whereas like the internet memification version is people saying like, my love language is like you bringing me breakfast and things like that. Um so yeah, the original book, so there's two versions of the book. There's the original published in 1992, and that was when Gary Chapman was
There.
Gare Bear was talking to a largely Christian audience. This really resonates with the podcast because this is a great like Christian communications thing. Like if you grew up in the Christian world, this is probably the sort of thing that your parents were reading.
And I think people get it in pre-Cana. That's where they hear about the
Uh-huh.
love
Yeah,
languages.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think it's a popular one to hand out for that, which I will remind you is just like I was saying, like seminary does not qualify you to be a couples counselor. At best, in the Protestant world, you are getting marriage counseling from a vaguely non-certified layperson in the context of psychology. In the Catholic version, you are getting marital advice from a celibate person, right?
Yes, who
Okay.
also is likely biased towards whichever person's family is belonging to that church, and so they're like,
Mm.
"You are so lucky to marry Adam," Adam is a member, all that, so I'm gonna ask you all these questions, and then meanwhile, Adam's over there and doesn't get any questions. Not speaking from any personal stories, obviously.
Obviously. So yeah, so he originally publishes for this very like normcore, tradcore kind of audience. And then it's republished in 2014, and that's the version probably most people know and have seen. But it is still, he is just largely talking to hetero trad couples. There's basically no mention of non-hetero couples. Seems like from other things that he's written, and believe me, he had opportunities because this is a whole like he just got on the love languages gravy train with this book. There is love languages for children, for teenagers, for parents of kids with disabilities, love languages for men, not love languages for women, which we'll get into that. Just like everything under the sun. So if he wanted to speak to like how it would be maybe adjusted for LGBT couples, he could have, but he's kind of more in the like don't ask, don't tell. But basically this original version, I think that they had him like clean up a little bit of his like gender norm language. Um, and it
Gotta sell.
yeah, exactly. So it had like these like checklist kind of things of like how to do the different love languages, and it would be very like men, if your wife's love language is acts of service, then you can like help her with the laundry. And then women, it's like if your man likes acts of service, you can do his laundry. Things like that. And also, I will say, Kay, you would be very disappointed. This book was for certified good girls trademark only. The wifeys do not care for sex. And so really this whole book came off to me as like a manual for dumb fucking husbands who like can't figure out for shit why their wife, like basically what you were saying in the beginning.
Why doesn't my wife wanna have sex with me? I don't do any housework, and I don't help with my kids and all that, and that is not my
Seriously,
own
there's, like, this
partnership.
story
I'm
in
just
there
saying,
that's, like he has all these, like, advice columns, which I think that he, like, writes it seems like he writes them himself. They're not, like, actual letters to him of, like, a guy that, like, went and played softball while his wife was having a baby, and then he's like, "Why is my wife so mopey all the time?" So, really, I think that his core audience and why there's a love languages for men book, but not a love languages for women book is certainly
so men get
conservative
some
Christian women.
basics. We're starting from
Yeah,
the
we
bottom.
are like, the women are so socialized to just be attuned to this shit already that we didn't really need a book doing it, but I think that he assumes that, like, all of the dumb husbands out there are like, "Husbands, if your wife does not think that, like, a deep dicking is her love language, then buy her some flowers."
Is it not your
However,
love
he is
language?
so gender normative that he does not allow for the possibility that maybe a deep dicking is your wife's love language. So there's very, like, with the physical touch one, it's very masculine gendered, and the examples of women who go for the physical touch is, like, she wants to cuddle, and, yeah, on the other side, it's like, "Maybe your wife should blow you," but he doesn't say that because he's Christian.
So, just like a funny kind of side note is that I was looking into the physical touch element, which obviously there's a lot of research to support that physical touch is a great love language, for lack of a better word, but just a way to increase the feelings between you and your partner.
Yeah, oxytocin,
And
yeah.
yeah, it lowers your heart rate, your blood pressure. Like when you touch your partner, you guys are on the same wavelength. But a funny thing is that I saw Masters and Johnson, pioneers of the modern sex therapy movement, used to encourage their couples to do non sexual touches more often, and that would lead them to be more sexually interested. And I was like,
Hmm.
"Huh, Masters and Johnson somewhat rings a bell, but I can't really think of it." But if they're leaders of the modern sex therapy movement, obviously I wanna look into them, and it turns out, and you probably already know this from
This
your face,
TV show?
that they're like the conversion therapy people. They were the people
Oh,
like, "Send me
fuck.
people who are gay, and I can just have them touch the other sex, and then they're gonna be changed." And as
Oh.
we already know, because we are stuck in our straight relationships, that is not possible.
Again, if I could be with a woman, I would. That sounds delightful to me. Yeah. Ugh, disappointing.
Yes.
Okay, so the 5 love languages. So with that disclaimer, we will get
Masters and Johnson had to make an appearance.
yeah, yeah. With that disclaimer, we will get into naming what they are just because I feel like it's helpful to hear. And yeah, as you hear them, you might be like, isn't this one kind of similar to the other one? And
Don't ask questions.
the answer is yeah. First of all, don't ask questions. Gare Bear has made millions, if not more, off of
We
this
judge the
concept.
science based off of how much money Gary has made.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we are in the year of our Lord 2025. This is how all things are judged, is would Elon Musk want to invest in it? Great. So, Kay, you were going to jump in with some examples of where each of these love languages help
So
you.
there's words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Now we're going to go back and start off with examples. Words of affirmation. SJ, you look great today in your overalls. Have I told you that? And you are such a good co host. That is an
Thank you.
example of a words of affirmation. And there's studies showing that in case you don't have a partner, you can also just tell these to yourself. And as long as it's coming from somewhere and you feel like you believe it, it really does help your self-esteem, your confidence, all those things. Yeah, I look at my partner, I try to tell him, "You are a good man," with a
Be a good boy.
yeah.
Go fetch me a
You are a
sandwich.
very, very good boy.
And then you walk him like a dog,
Yeah.
just like Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, I pet his head a little bit, and that's when I get into my physical touch. Also, just a quick side note that I actually love that Sabrina Carpenter picture of her with the guy, because you know what she said about it? She said that the important thing about the picture, and for those of you who haven't seen it, it's her album cover, and the guy is standing up, and she's kind of looking like she might go down on him, and he's tugging her hair, is that she's like, "I am very clearly, and there's no doubt of anybody looking in at that picture, that I am in control of the situation,
Yeah,
and I'm
girl.
enjoying it." I'm like, "Go Sabrina."
Yeah.
Acts of service. Ooh, this is just where guys seem to get in trouble because I feel like an act of service doesn't even have to be there if they're just happening, right? I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like so a lot of times when people think of examples of this, I'm also like, doing the bare minimum is not acts of service, like, just participating in the household,
Like, if
I
I put the shoes on my daughter this morning, was that an act of service? I
yeah,
don't.
exactly, and this kind of feels like, so we recently, for one of my kids, introduced the concept of allowance, and that quickly turned into, and we tried to just have it be like a general, like, this is something that you get at a certain age so you can have spending money of your own, and in order to, and part of this is that we have this social contract that you will be participating as a member of this household and doing certain chores. She
That's what you said
immediately,
to her?
but yes,
Yeah.
I did. We talk about social contracts, but, then she, like, pretty much immediately wanted to turn it into, like, "I just picked up, the wrapper from my cheese stick and put it in the trash. Pay me $1, please." And that's kind of what this sounds like for men, that then they'll, like, get this and they're like, "Oh, like, acts of service, like, I'm gonna put my plate in the dishwasher. Where's my blowjob?"
Deep throat me now, please. But greater perceived sharing of household tasks is associated with higher relationship satisfaction and increased liking of one's partner. Did we even need studies to say
Apparently
that?
we did, though, just the same as we needed this dumb fucking book for some people.
Just do things and then you might get more sex. You know, if you take the load off your wife and so she's not super, super tired, she might be more interested in getting right
That's
down there. Who knows? Or not, because it might just not be your thing, or maybe you don't clean enough. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
or
mean,
maybe so
go
many other
there.
reasons, which we'll get into on other episodes as well.
Yes. And then gifts, you know, not just for birthdays. You can gift somebody a lot of different things. You can go to a gas station and come out with a Gatorade. That might lead you to a blowjob. Just
Only
think
if you
about
pick the
it.
right flavor of Gatorade. Well, I
Yeah.
think when that, first of all, I feel like, as much as if we want to adhere to the 5 love languages, I feel like gifts gets the, like, worst, because it is just like, "Oh, you're, like, this materialistic person who, like, requires their partner
No.
to buy
Yeah.
them designer handbags and diamonds or something." But I think it really is more supposed to be kind of about, like, the, "Oh, I was thinking of you." And I also feel like this is a hard one to do if it doesn't come to you naturally. Like, some of the other ones, it's like words of affirmation, like, you can just, like, kind of practice it till you get good at it. But when you know the people in your life, and I'm not just talking like, romantic relationships, the people who are really thoughtful gift givers, it's always just, like, a very, like, that is impressive that they just, like, pick up little things, whether it's for birthdays or non-particular occasions, that is just, like, this, like, "Oh, I was thinking of you. I saw this. I thought you would want it," like, something small.
I tend to
It's
more just get
really,
stuck in my head. I'm like,
yeah.
I think that person would like that, but maybe they don't. Maybe they would have already bought it for themselves. Maybe
Well, and then I
maybe
get
they
tied
wanted
up in
this.
all of my, like, difficult relationship with stuff, because then I'm like, "Well, if they don't want this, then it's just, like, one more thing for them to have to, like, figure out and get rid of." And I do really feel like that, like, with the gift giving language, like, when it is just this obligatory thing, especially around birthdays, and you get that with kids' birthdays, but some families too, just have this, like, very obligatory, like, every year on your birthday, like, we have to get you a gift, like, you have to get everyone Christmas gifts, like, everyone Christmas gifts. It does just really result in this, like, it's like the opposite of the intended thing, because then you get this thing that's, like, thoughtless, or just kinda like, you're like, "Huh, I don't know," and then that makes you feel like the person maybe even knows you less than you thought.
I get great gifts from my partner, so I feel like I do like gifting, but I don't need gifts though. I just see it as one more way that I'm like, "You are such a sweetheart, and you get me, and you look out for little things," but that's not
I
if
will,
yes,
yeah.
if they were not good gift givers, then I don't
This is
no.
totally true for my marriage. I am an excellent gift giver. I will just own that about myself, because I
Words of
give myself
self-affirmation, yes.
words of self-affirmation. I am a great gift giver. And
I am a lousy gift giver.
well, one of my hacks is that I just keep a note on my phone. This works especially well for my husband, who is very forgetful and, like, not very thinks about stuff. So he'll tell me in, like, July, that he's like, "I really want this cookbook." And then, like, Christmas rolls around and I give him the cookbook. He totally forgot that he asked for it. So, I mean, it works for anyone to, like, keep track of things that they mentioned that they would like, but it works especially well for people who forgot that they mentioned that thing. And then he's like, "This looks like such a cool cookbook. Where did you find this?"
You told me, but you
I know,
forgot.
and I'm like, "Oh, no, I just, like, know you really well, and I thought that you would be interested in it." But I do just, like, keep track of things that people mention to me that they want or need, and I just try to, like, take note of that. Um, but it works. Yeah, it really only works on like people that you spend a lot of time with. But my husband, gift giving is not his love language, and I think that that's one that we figured out. Yeah, that like it's kind of a hard one to like fake it because he would try to like buy me nice things, but then it's like, somebody buys you jewelry who doesn't really know your taste. And then
I
they're
don't wanna
like,
wear that.
this is
Yeah.
why like gift giving is about the thoughtfulness and not the amount of money spent because then you could like buy a really expensive piece of jewelry. I don't think he's really done that, but like I could see that having happened. And then you're like, oh, cool, like a heart-shaped necklace. And so I think that he's realized that it's a better act of, I don't know what kind of love language this is, but just realizing that I would be much happier if you were like, you should just go pick yourself out some jewelry that you really like.
And feel free. Go crazy with it. Or you
Yeah.
should take your daughter to Disney World with your friends.
We
Ooh,
also did that,
that
or
was
I
a
just
great one.
took myself there, but I don't know. Yeah.
So, quality time, I'm here to report an extremely groundbreaking study. But first, just a basic description of quality time. Not just sitting and watching Netflix while you're both on each other's, like, not each other's phones, but your own individual phones, but actually, solidly hanging out, maybe going on a hike. But I just love the study that I found, which is in Contemporary Family Therapy by Hogan in 2022. And they looked at 49 couples, and I'm so happy that they did this because they found that couples that spent more time arguing per day were less satisfied in their relationships than
Mm,
couples who found a greater time, having positive conversations. It's like,
okay.
did that have to be a study?
Again, though, I am learning that maybe it did.
Yeah, just a reminder to men out there that if you are fighting, you might have a low satisfaction in your relationship, and that leads to other things. Um, Physical touch.
Oh, I
This
do wanna say something about quality time. This one was also a little bit like I was like, who is like, "This is not my love language," right? Like, who is in a relationship with somebody and then is like, "Oh, but I don't actually, like, get any value from quality time," until I was doing my Reddit research, and there were some people who answered there was a question that was like, "What is your, like, non-traditional love language?" And, like, not one of the Gary Chapman 5 love languages, and there were at least a couple of people on there who were like, "Being left alone, giving me my space."
I guess so.
I'm
I
like, "Do
was
you wanna be
thinking about
married?"
this, and before my partner and I lived with each other, I would have said quality time like 1,000%. Time just the two of us to hang out. We're either with groups of friends, we're working all these different things. But now that I feel like we are together all the time,
Mm.
I still want to be with him. I still like love our time together. But if I were to think about like what I'm craving, it is not, I don't know. I
Okay,
was mad at this because I'm not really
I
everything's
do
working
get that.
great.
Yeah, and I think that after the pandemic, when especially those of us who were used to, like, our jobs, we're mostly out of the house, and I think that there are a lot of us that since the pandemic, we're just, like, home more. That's definitely true for my husband and me, and, I guess I wouldn't say that it's my love language, but I do
Like,
crave
I
the
don't get
alone
to
time, but
watch
that's like
stupid
a
rom-coms on Netflix. I
yeah.
don't. I watch YouTube videos of Warren Buffett at night sitting alongside my husband.
No,
Like, it's
he should put headphones on, and then I suppose that is also a love language is watching 2 separate things on your phone sitting side by side wearing headphones because sometimes you
just
need
put
that.
your hand out.
But maybe yeah, exactly, you can still be holding hands, get that physical touch. I also think that there's maybe a difference between, like, healthy boundary stuff for you need for yourself to exist as a human being within any kind of relationship that's not actually a love language, and I was a little worried for people that they were asked that question, and that was literally the first thing that came to their mind. But reach out if that was you. We'd love to hear from you.
Maybe it was me, who knows? No, just kidding. I love spending time
Maybe
with
it was
my
your
partner, but
husband.
yeah. I just wanna be by myself with my old white man videos.
I'm gonna watch Warren Buffett in
Yeah.
peace without any fucking interruptions.
I need to hear someone with a lot of wrinkles who is male listen talk about finance without my wife saying that this is boring. Can she please leave me alone? So, physical touch, hugs, cuddles, groping, making a little grab in
Mhm.
there. So, another super fun study that I thought I don't want to do this too much because I have a feeling it was probably done by a student. It came out of UVA 2024, but it looked at 5 total couples and then it recruited 5 strangers, and they found this is crazy that people liked touches with their person who they're in a relationship more than the strangers.
Can I know more about this study? Was there like a secret hand box and you like stick your hand in the box and can't see who's on the other side of this like hand glory hole?
It was
And then,
like they could
and then
see
you're
each
being
other.
like touched by like a hand through the glory hole and you have to guess if it's your partner. Can I do that study?
It was like a very basic, like non-sexual wrist touch, but they felt like, well, the partners touched the wrist in different ways and like covered more surface area. And I'm like, did you only do 5 couples because you realized after 5 couples, what on earth am I doing?
What is this study?
I didn't have to do this.
But thank you for keeping our podcast grounded in research, Kay. This is important.
Yeah,
This
now
is
you know
valuable
those
stuff.
5 couples. There's also kind of like super fun, cool ones that show how like your brain wavelength like matches up with your partners when you guys
That's
touch each
cool.
other. It kind
Yeah.
of like syncs and becomes calm together.
Okay, yeah, I
Um,
have heard a little bit about this.
Whereas if you touch a stranger, oh, so I also learned in my good girls research division
Puts on
department.
lab coat.
So French and colleagues published a paper in 2019 on sociosexuality. Now, you might be wondering at home, what does sociosexuality mean? It
I am
turns
wondering.
out it is a scientific word for swinging, which I just love.
Oh.
And it found that overall, so it looked at 204 newlywed couples, and it found that among those who swang or were sociosexual, that overall
Very scientific.
there was a greater like decrease in satisfaction over time. But except for those who are having more frequent sex and higher sexual satisfaction and low stress. So I just feel like, okay, so there's a portion of these people who are like super, super like cool sex animals, and they're like, yeah, whatever, we're both having sex with other people, but I'm like low stress and having awesome. I feel like there might be some drugs involved in that equation, and they were able to keep up their happiness, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
is this like you are having more sex overall, or unless you're having frequent sex with each other as well?
More sex. Oh, that's interesting. They just said more frequent sex, but they did not.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. They could have just been increased. If you just swing all the time, then you're so
Nonstop.
happy. Yeah. If every single day you're having sex with a different person.
Well, especially if physical touch is your love life. If you are one of the people on Reddit whose love language is just blowjobs, then it does seem like you should just have
Outsource.
as many
Yeah.
possible opportunities for blowjobs in a day as you can. Yeah, I mean, this is one that I've heard in general about the swinging culture and some of the like the parties and stuff, is that like how it's portrayed on TV versus like how it is in real life. And I saw like one of those reality shows that's like people that are into doing interesting things. I forget what show it was, but basically that it was this younger couple that like wanted to try going to a sex party, and they did, and it was all just like older
kinky people. Yeah,
kinky
no,
people who are like,
we're all
like, if you go
kinky,
to
but they're just like sexually freer. They're
yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. But
yeah.
it wasn't like, one of these like mask parties from like the sexy shows where like everybody is rich and hot.
Totally ripped.
And like,
yeah.
25 years old and things like that. So I think that they like went to the party for a little bit and then they were like, okay. let's
Yeah,
go."
maybe I only wanted to be with you. I don't know. I feel like I picture Kristen and Sandy on the OC. If anybody ever
Oh,
watched into the
yeah.
later
Oh,
yeah, with like the nice
great
expensive
vintage
watches
TV
on the, on the
Yes.
table. Yeah, I'm like, I would go to that swinging party. Seems very clean.
Yeah.
don't-
Yeah.
I-
I don't think that we live in the right zip code for that, Kay.
Shucks. Just kidding. Please don't contact
To
me.
any of our
Please-
neighbors who are watching this.
Please do not. I'm
We're
not
actually,
interested
Kay's
in
not
swinging.
actually interested
Yeah.
in joining your watch party.
Yeah, you can never live up to my partner.
Gentlemen.
So there was another just funny story, and this really doesn't belong anywhere, but I wanted to share it. So I looked at 169 marriages over the first 18 months of marriage, and they showed that there are significant changes in personality over those 18 months, where men become slightly less agreeable and women become less like extroverted, and there's declines in openness, and that made me kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's why we have to be sociosexual. I don't know.
Yeah, I also feel like this
don't
reminds
know.
me of the study that it was like men who are married live longer, but like women who are single are happier or something like that. But basically the theory being that like women hound their husbands into like doing basic kinds of self-care, like scheduling doctor's
We're just the
appointments, and so those
best.
men live longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Mm.
all the women in in Gary Bear's books are just like running around after their husbands picking up for them, and they're like, acts of service is my love language.
They're also much more likely to stay when the partner gets a serious diagnosis and all that. But again, we're trapped being straight, so we will accept our male partners and love them all the way. And this does not apply to our own male partners, but in general, just, across the gender.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, does it matter if love languages aren't real? If they help us kind of start
Men clearly
conversations?
need them.
I do, and I think that it still comes up in like legitimate therapy contexts outside of the church. And not because anybody is recommending the book to people, but just again, this kind of like conversation starter. Um,
The only thing is I just wish that acts of service, even though I do get that there's a difference, I
mm,
wish that there was a way to like just make it clear, like first make sure that household tasks are equal, and then we can start talking about acts of service. But
yeah.
if your acts of service are just you getting up to like 40% when your wife currently does like 70%, then that's not, yeah.
Yeah, or just things around that are just sort of shared household tasks to begin with. Like I think one that is nice is that I'm not a morning person and my husband is, and like that he will like make coffee and sometimes even bring me coffee upstairs if I am particularly slow moving. And I feel like that is something that's not like part of
I
the
just
regular
yell
household
every single
chores.
morning. No, I don't
I
yell, but I'm
mean,
like, why can't you wake up at 7 o'clock?
so you're the morning person in your house.
I'm the morning person, and then being up in the morning just naturally leads to you doing more in the morning. And so, I'm a fighter. You will get up,
Yeah.
but now I
I
can
do
be more
try to get out of
sympathetic.
doing things in the morning, but having 2 kids has made that difficult for me, and I am forced to live in a world born to be rolling around in bed still at 10 AM, forced to be packing lunches.
Have you seen the Slither method?
No. Go on.
So you lie down in bed, and then when it's like time to get up, like instead of thinking, oh wow, I have to like raise my head and get up and open my
You
eyes,
just flop out
you
of bed.
literally like writhe out of bed and you like crawl. I think it's like her name's Mel. She has an Instagram. She's like a 60-year-old woman who helps you think about life. And there's a video, and she's like a very well put together, like beautiful PJs, all that 60-year-old woman. And she's just like, and now I writhe.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know I haven't tried this. I'm open really to trying anything. Currently, my method is picking up my phone immediately, which I hear the experts tell you is great, and just immediately starting to scroll things.
All the experts say that. If
Experts
you
say
go
that's
to
great.
any therapist, they'll be like, "Just
Yeah, they're like,
use
you
your
know what you should
phone."
do
Yeah,
is use your
Instagram.
phone more and start earlier, and then go later and do it till you fall asleep. And then when you wake up in the middle of the night, then pick up your phone again. That's what they say.
Think about how excited you are to see your kids and just hop right up.
Mm.
Um, okay, so I asked my partner what he thought that my love language was, and he said, "Oh, you like gifting." And I said, "No, that's like not even the case because I don't care at all that my parents don't gift to me. I just like it that you gift because this is part of your sweet personality." And
Aw.
he's like, he looked at me and he goes, "You like the physical." I asked, like, "Well, what do
Care
you like?"
Bear would not approve, but go on.
He said that his favorite thing that I do is that when I walk up to him and I give him, like, a hug and I say that I love him and I kiss him, which I do, 1 or 2 times a day, because he's like, "It's just that, like, natural, like, you really genuinely mean it and you really do love me." So I guess that would mean it's, like, words of affirmation plus physical touch? I
Yeah,
don't
this
know.
is what they're very overlapping. So, and that's why I also feel like it's just maybe more of a starting point because yeah, they're very overlapping. Some of these are very vague and like things like acts of service, like changing an occasional diaper or not an act of service. So I think the word that you use genuine is a big part of it because it's also just kind of like whatever it is if it's coming from a genuine place and not, I mean, even with like words of affirmation, like if you were just like you are so special.
Well, that and, like, to me, the ultimate thing of love, and it's nice that all the rest of the things happen too, but it's like the other person seeing you for who you are and, like, loving and embracing that whole self, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, and I think that, when my partner is like, "Oh, like, you used to narrate porn, and I love that about you, and I also think it's impressive that you do that." It just makes me feel like they see me, and that does it for me.
That is a really good point, and that's why this whole subcategory of the internet with people making jokes, we pulled some from our internet research lab. There are such examples as cat photos, head scratches, inside jokes, shit
Head
talking.
scratches. Do you like head scratches?
Oh my gosh, I am like such a slut for them.
I am just not
I
in
this is why I
a
am part cat or dog. I don't know. Check with
Hmm.
Sabrina Carpenter.
I don't yeah. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I
Head
find it very
scratches.
relaxing, and if that is your kink or your love language, if you haven't been to a Japanese head spa, you should totally go because it's just like that for 2 hours.
I don't even get massages because I do not like people touching me.
Which
I
is
like my
interesting
partner touching
that
me.
physical touch and see, this is what I mean is that the broad 5 categories are trash because, like, for you, that means very specific things
I
and who you
only want
want
my
them from.
partner.
Who
Yes.
you want them from, right, exactly, and, like, under what context and things like that. And so it's more that, like, intimacy of knowing exactly from the other person what that is that's acceptable, whether it's, like, head scratches, blowjobs, commenting on porn together, any of those kinds of things. Um, that is very important. One that I really liked was, and I do this for my husband, is remembering the names of people that I forgot and like whispering them when they're walking up. Or I do a lot of like, oh hey,
Because
you know my friend Samantha, right? Samantha,
Because
this is
you
my
know him
husband.
well enough to know that he wishes that he knew the name, that he didn't
Yeah.
remember it because of some reason that has nothing to do with his respect of the person. And so you're able to read that part of their personality and know that they need that. It's like my partner sometimes knows that I'm on a roll and I'm doing well and I don't really need that much help, but he knows that like on Saturday mornings if I don't get my like workout in, then I get frazzled. And so that's where the active service comes in of taking the kids away for as long as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, like, whatever you want to call it is the important thing. The last one on here was singing karaoke. This is one of my love languages, and it is one that
It
I
is not one of mine.
do not get from my
We
partner.
are
And I think it
incompatible.
would make us love each other less if he did try to sing karaoke because singing is not one of his skills. So this is where I will also put in a plug for, and this is something that I think is kind of not talked about a lot in the whole like Christian relationship advice mode of things. There's so much in that Christian dating advice kind of stuff about like your partner being your everything and that they like fulfill your every need, and that like all of these love languages that you require have to be spoken by your partner. So this is a very good example of like, I love to sing karaoke. Would never ask my partner to do it. Would be uncomfortable if he offered. And yeah, there are plenty of other people in my life that can
He could be a
join me in my
beautiful
other
singer.
hobbies. No, I've heard him sing.
No? Okay.
No.
My partner's not a bad singer, and he plays the guitar, and I feel bad that I don't appreciate those
No.
parts at all. I
He
mean,
is well hung, however.
woohoo! Huge alpha males.
Like
Woo!
a tree trunk.
Yes. We wanna make sure that all of our listeners know. So when you see him on the streets, just know, wow, huge
Oh,
alpha.
and there is this very cute story. A lot of the answers that I saw were just like 2 words. This one was this story from, I think, an older man that he was talking about how his wife had been a tango dancer for like had been into dancing for years and years and loved to go out dancing. So his expression of love to her was that he took lessons and learned how to tango dance. And now they go out together all the time. But he was just saying how it was this great opportunity for them both to appreciate each other. And I think that that's what I hear in a lot of these stories, that like she appreciates him having taken the time to learn this thing just because it matters to her. But he was like, I love to go with her because she's so beautiful and she gets all dressed to the nines and
Oh.
I get to see her in her element. But he's like, but then I also feel like a really great partner. And he's like, and I'll go dance. Like I get to like, dance and enjoy myself. And he's like, also, I feel like she walks away. He's like, because the men there are so, and I'm the best looking man there. And then she
I
gets to
love
go
the
home with me.
self-confidence.
Yes, positive self affirmation. You go, Reddit guy.
Woohoo. What was I gonna say? I feel like if you go back to even high school, how many high school girls, if you are friends with any high school girls, then you might know that how they're asked to dances is a big deal. And even if they have long-standing boyfriends and it's very obvious they're going to go to the
Mhm.
dance, they need that kind of extra act that says, hey, I'm really interested in you and you're worth making this elaborate sign or poster for. And you're going to get that little sign that I love and am into you.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, I feel like, yeah, it's all about just saying, like, I see you and I get you, and I really appreciate you for who you are. So if at the end of the day, that is what Gare Bear, what conversation he sparked for us, then blessings to him and his multi-book empire. Um,
Go Care Bear.
yeah, don't read the book,
Yeah,
but
but women do like sex. Yeah, my
yeah.
my partner would literally say that that's, like, my love language, and actually, I have a distinct memory that when we were early on in our first months dating, he dropped me off after a movie, and I was like, "Will you come into the house with me?" He's like, "No, I really need to go back and do some work," and I was like, "We might be incompatible as partners."
He's like, I need to go back into my bed and listen to
Yeah.
Warren Buffett videos.
I have some Warren studying to do tonight. It's like you can't sit next to me in a movie theater and like lightly touch me for 2 hours and then not think that we're gonna have some hanky panky afterwards. But that's just the
Hanky
way that he
panky is
is.
the love language for the ladies. Listen up, Gare Bear.
Yeah, we also my partner and I probably have the reverse relationship on that. That I'd be like, oh, what can I do to get my partner to have some more sex with me?
How do I know he loves me if he
Yeah,
hasn't boned me in a while?
yeah, it's been 3 hours. So to go back, we always revisit some things discussed in our prior episodes before
Mhm.
ending. And sex appeal was an episode that generated a lot of conversation afterwards about what is your thing that you see and you're like, yep, that guy's hot.
That
And
guy fucks.
we found out from a listener that hers is when a guy shuffles cards, which I can see, like when they really know how to do like the cool like card shuffling.
I see this one, and I think that it really fits the criteria of what we were asking, that it's like not an inherently like associated with hot guy thing on its surface. But it's like something that just like raises a green flag sexually speaking. Although I will say potential overlap between really good at shuffling cards and magicians, but I've never been with a magician. Um, hmm.
Well, magicians might be a smaller percentage of the population, so you might have a smaller chance of getting with a magician than a guy who knows how to shuffle cards. But I
True.
have not looked into the numbers recently.
True.
I mean, I'm just
I
thinking
would
about Joel from Arrested Development.
Job, yes.
Yeah. There's obviously a hot magicians. I've seen them on America's Got Talent.
Yeah, yeah. There are hot magicians. I don't know that I want to be with a magician though. I would say that for me, that is probably something that if I saw you doing magic, I would be less interested in sex. Just because I don't want somebody doing magical numbers on me when we are together.
I think that most magicians would tell you that they're not going to bust out their magic tricks during sex.
You don't know that. You've
Yeah.
never been with one either, have you?
Yeah. I was having sex with one, and then all of a sudden I was just under the bed, and I wasn't sure how.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I did hear a story about that once of something. This was on another great podcast, Normal Gossip, but there was one about that where he wasn't a magician, but they were like somehow in the apartment of like he was friends with or brothers with someone who was a magician, and there was like a magic trick bed. I won't give away the ending, but you should listen to that podcast.
Woo! I also like calling out other podcasts. And then also on hottest biblical characters.
Mm.
Cain. We overlooked Cain.
A classic bad boy.
Yeah, it's classic bad boy. And the person said, I think I can change him. You know, also older brother. Apparently older brothers are hot, which is not personally a thing for me. I think being from a big family, just like any brothers I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
interested in any of my brothers,
Yeah.
but in terms of
Birth
order, they're all
order,
great.
yeah, birth
Yeah.
order. Oh, that should be a study that somebody should do. Impact on hotness of
Bir
birth
birth
order.
order and sex appeal. Well, I think that middle children are more likely to be, comedians, and so that would
Oh,
probably be,
hey,
like,
middle
the
child
guys.
here.
Middle yeah, 4 out of 7,
Yeah, I
so
mean, I
the
guess when you have 7 kids in your family, there's a pretty good shot at being a middle child, so
I could also be considered the younger or the older of different batches of kids depending on how you look
mm,
at it.
yeah.
So, to kind of go and conclude up this episode, love languages, scientifically based. I would say each individual element of this love languages is, but the actual like science as Gary put it out, not. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't show some words of affirmation and leave us
To
a
yourself, to
review.
us.
Yes, but only if we're great though. We can't take words of criticism right now,
That is
unfortunately.
not one of
Yeah.
our love languages. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
I do not need negative affirmation. But I thank you for listening and I hope you have a great day.